All right, Sheriff Lange, thank you for coming in today.
Thank you for having me, Thad.
You're welcome. So, we're going to ask a couple questions. The first question is, what are your top three issues and why?
Okay, be glad to. But before I start answering the question, if you don't mind, I want to apologize to your viewers that I've had this crud that's been going around for the last couple of weeks. So my apologies to all your viewers if I have to take a drink of water or if I might have to cough during this interview. So again, my apologies for that. Top three issues for the Bell County Sheriff's Department are very simple. It's funding, funding, and funding. Now I'm going to break that down a little bit and have to explain what I mean by that. The state legislature in their last session passed a 3.5% revenue cap. Most viewers probably have no clue what I'm talking about. So I'll try to explain it in layman's terms as quick as I can. The law states that anytime a county or government goes above 3.5% more tax revenue than they had in the previous year, they have to have voter approval to do that. So that pretty much limits local government to a 3.5% growth. And most people think that's plenty. Well, here in Central Texas, especially in Bell County, we're still experiencing fantastic growth. And we have for the last 30 years, averaging almost 10% a year in growth. So as our growth continues to grow, so does the demand on our services, yet the demand's growing at 10% along with the number of people that are coming into this county, yet our revenue coming in to fund all of these services is now limited to 3.5%. So over a number of years, the numbers don't work. So how are we going to continue to provide the services that our citizens demand upon law enforcement while we're limited to the revenue? So funding, number one, is the biggest issue. I'm going to kind of divide it into different areas. First off, let's talk about patrol. As all these citizens continue to move into Bell County, a good number of them are going to reside in the rural areas. And they're going to expect law enforcement to provide a service to them. For example, there's a new MUD coming in south of Belton, and we were told that when it's all built out, there's going to be over 2,000 additional homes in that subdivision, which will be in the county. 2,000 homes, an average of 3.5, 4 people per home. That's another 8,000, 10,000 people that are going to demand services from the Sheriff's Department. And how are we going to continue to provide adequate services to additional people coming in while our revenue is limited to 3.5%? It's a major issue that we're facing, not only here in Bell County, but in other governments across the state. If you're a small county and you're not experiencing much growth, it may not be an issue. But here in Bell County, with our continued growth, that's going to continue to be a problem. I want to talk about funding for some special projects we have going too. We created through a grant program with MHMR what was called the Crisis Intervention Team at the time. It was a partnership with MHMR to provide a diversion program to keep people who really don't need to be going to jail, have some type of mental deficiency, they can't operate in the real world effectively, keep them from getting in the criminal justice system in the beginning. That was funded 100% by MHMR the first year, and over the next 5 years that percentage goes down, and so the county government has to continue to fund that project. Today that group is known as the Crisis Response Division. To date we've diverted over 350 individuals from getting caught up in the criminal justice system, but funding again is going to become an issue because as that grant expires, the county taxpayers, quote, the county commissioners and the county judge are going to have to fund that program to make sure that it continues on. And we're helping people help themselves through that program. So again, funding for that. Funding for our human trafficking issues. We created the Special Crimes Unit when we took over 7 years ago. Part of their responsibility, in addition to keeping up with the 175 or so registered sex offenders that reside in the county and investigating sex crimes, part of their task is human trafficking. About 4 years ago, I tasked that unit to become more active in human trafficking. They went out and learned how to do the human trafficking stings and do what we can do here in Bell County to try to put just a dent in the human trafficking that's going on in our area. The program has been so successful that we not only learned how to do it, we have now become the teacher, and we're teaching others in how to do the human trafficking stings. We've worked with, of course, McLennan County, Collin County, Travis County, Brazos County, Milam County. We've worked with a number of different counties who are coming to us to want to know how we're doing the human trafficking stings. A part of that, I tasked that group to go beyond simply going out there and arresting Johns and pimps. Let's take that next step, and I call it progressive policing. Let's do what we could do to try to help these victims of human trafficking. And that's what we've been able to do the last several years, as you've probably noticed in the papers and the news releases that we've sent out. We are now getting these victims of human trafficking in touch with different help groups to try to break this cycle of human trafficking, get those people that want help to get out of this situation. That's our goal, not to put them in jail, not to give them a criminal record. They're a victim. We need to be helping those folks. And we've been very successful at it. But again, funding. We have to have the funds to be able to continue to grow that division also. Because again, our population is growing up to 10% a year. Funding. The third is the jail. Again, our population numbers are continuing to rise, like I said, up to the 10% rate. That means our jail population continues to rise also. In the month of December, we averaged almost 900 inmates a day. That's up to, when I first took office 7 years ago, we were probably averaging 700 a day. So we've experienced substantial growth, especially in the last year and a half. We haven't been able to identify a single factor as to what's causing that. Population growth certainly is part of it. The Sandra Bland requirements that the state's putting on us certainly has something to do with that. Our overloaded court system has something to do with that. But irregardless, our numbers continue to grow, and they're going to continue to do so. Our maximum capacity right now is probably in the 1,085 mark. So we're going to be at full capacity probably within a year or so. So we're going to have to look at jail expansion. I know, Thad, that you told me that you've only been here a little while. So you don't know the history behind jail issues that we had in Bell County. When we were looking at building the current Loop jail, we went to the voters on 3 different occasions to try to pass a bond issue to build the Loop jail. And all 3 times the voters disapproved it. So we know that we're going to have to go out for a bond election again if we need to expand the jail. And the odds of successfully doing that are probably slim to none here in Bell County. So we're going to have to look at other avenues of possibly solving our overcrowding issue. One idea that's being thrown around, I didn't think of it in the beginning. Commissioner Bill Schuman brought this forth a while back, and that is maybe possibly partnering with some of the local health institutions in creating what we might call a mental health hospital as part of our Loop jail. On any given day, about 30% of my inmates have some type of mental deficiency and really don't need to be in our jail. I mentioned that earlier, that something is amiss about them and they cannot function in the real world on a day-to-day basis. But due to the state cutbacks and the MHR programs and the different things like that, there's no place for them to go. And so they end up being on the street, homeless, or even in the care of someone, but they can't cope. And so they get in trouble and they end up in our jail at a direct cost to the taxpayers of Bell County. Now that cost today, according to our auditor's office, is about $70 a day per inmate. When you multiply that times 900, times 365 days a year, you're talking a lot of money. My jail budget is about $22 million this year, and it's going to continue to rise. Again, funding. Now, how are we going to fund this new hospital we're talking about? We don't have the answer today. We're still in the beginning stages of talking about that. But again, funding, funding, and funding are the big 3 issues facing the Bell County Sheriff's Department.
Okay, and you've been in office, you said 7 years. What is, if you are reelected, what is something that you are still looking to accomplish in that next term?
Again, I just visited on the main item I want to accomplish, and that is getting our jail taken care of. And I would really love to see that mental health hospital come to fruition, because it's going to, if we take that 30% of my inmates that need help, and we're able to divert them to a mental health hospital, that frees up 300 beds in my main jail. If we're able to do that, it accomplishes two things. First off, it relieves the pressure on my jail. Second thing is, it gives these individuals some other avenue of getting help. And that's what our whole purpose is here at the Bell County Sheriff's Department. And I preach this to my new employees. I always ask them, I said, why do you want to be a jailer? Why do you want to be a police officer? And I get all kinds of answers. Some of them are like, hey, I just need a job. Well, that's a good answer. Others want to try to do something in their life that's worthwhile. But the answer I'm looking for is, we're here to help your fellow human beings. And that's what we preach to our employees. And that's the way it is in our jail too. We want to help these people get through some of the toughest times in their life as safely and as quickly as we possibly can. That's our goal of the jail. Our job is not to punish people. Our job is to help people get through this portion of their life. And especially these people that I've talked about before that have something in their life, whether it's mental, physical, or whatever, that they can't function in the real world. We need to get these people some help. And that's kind of the major goal I'm looking at. I would love to sit here and be able to tell you that I would love to see the Sheriff's Department grow leaps and bounds. But due to the financial restrictions that the state government has put on us, the growth in our department is going to be very limited until we can somehow get that law changed to where if we're in a 10% growth area, we can grow 10% in our taxes also, so we can have the money to spend to be able to afford to provide the services that the public demands from us.